Hi, welcome to another session in this Excel series. We are going to be looking at exploratory data analysis using Microsoft Excel. We are going to be focusing on how to use pivot table to do a lot of exploration on our data set. So let us get at it. This particular data is already inside a table. We have formatted it into a table. So we can explore some of these data even before we enter into a pivot table. For example, this is the country name. Assuming we want to look at some transactions from USA, we can just click on here, click on USA, and then all of these are the data from United States of America. Then let us say we want to consider the male customers, that is the customers who are male alone. We click here, we click on male, and then this contain the data set of all the transactions from USA and were from male gender. So assuming we say, okay, let us look at the other type. So we look at the other type or the other level, and we say, okay, let's look at any of these transactions that has a high order level. So we check on I and we click. Then we can say, oh, out of all the customers from USA and those that were from male gender, these are the transactions that were at the level of that were high level in terms of the order amount. So assuming we want to go a little bit and say, okay, let us see those ones of these transactions that were done on weekend. And then we click here, then we select on weekend, we click, and then you can see that it was only one transaction that was done on weekend from USA from a male gender that is of high order level. So we can look into this particular transaction and get whatever we want. So this is one way through which we can explore our data by just using multiple filtering. So now, if I want to remove all these multiple filters, I can just be going one after the other and be removing them like clear filter like this. But sometimes one can forget to remove a particular filter and it will mess up the whole data set. So to just remove all of the filters at once, just come to the filter here and click on this filter icon. When you click on it, you can see all of the filters has been removed. Good. Now, if you want to go back and put filter again, just click like this, come here and click on the filter, and then you can see. Now, let us go to our pivot table. Now, this is a table already. We click inside this table, and then you come to insert, and then we insert pivot table from table range. So, a new worksheet. Good. Now we are in a pivot table. So I can just call this, name this particular sheet as pivot sheet. Good. Now let's do the first analysis. Let's look at, let's compare the gender. So we have the genders, and then let's look at the number of transactions that was done by both gender. Let us compare them. So to do that, let's look at any ID here. You can use anything, but I will use customer ID. I click on it here, I take it to value. So you can see it is showing sum of value. So let me expand it. Yes, it's showing sum. So it is adding the customer ID together. So for me to do this, I click here and say summarize value by count. I want you to count the customer ID. And from here, you can see that there are 24 transactions from female gender and 26 from male gender. So if I want to, sometimes these numbers are not very helpful. So we can just convert it to a percentage. So how do I do that? I can just create, I can work with this, click, and then summarize value by, okay, it is show value as percentage of grand total. You can see now that male is 52%, female is 48%. What of a time when we want to see the value and we also want to see the percentage? So I can just come here and say, okay, another customer ID into this place, and then so this one will be in form of count, and then you can see now, so 24 transactions making 48%, and then 26 transactions making 52%. So this is cool, but what of if we want to go further? So and probably check based on different parameters. So how do we do that? Let us create a slicer. So we come here under pivot table analyze, you click on it, and then you can see, let's put our, let's use put pivot charts first, and then let's use column, this. So we have it here. So good. And then let's put slicers, pivot table analyze, and then let's click on insert slicers. So let's look at the cities, we look at the countries, and then we look at, let's look at months, let us look at day type, and let us look at purchase, or let's look at order level. I think you can go as many as you want, but these ones are enough for now. So let's start. Let's put this one here. So you can make them small. So that you can create space, and then you have country name. So good. So let us start from here. By looking at this place, we can do so many things. Let us start from, okay, we want to see the transactions that were done on the weekend. So I click on weekend here. You can see that only 14 transactions were done during the weekend. And out of those 14, female was 8 and male was 6 based on the account for this percentage. If I want to go further and I say, okay, These are the transactions that were done on the weekend. Let us look at the one that was from Australia. So we click on Australia and you can see that out of all the transactions that were done on the weekend, only two of them were from Australia. One from a male and one from a female. And then let us ask a question again that, okay, the other level. So let me expand this one a little bit. Oh, sorry. So let's look at the other level. If you look at this particular slicer, you can see that the medium is already unhighlighted, which is showing that out of all of these two transactions, none of them was of medium level. So let's click on high level. You can see that one of the transactions is a high level transaction and it was from the female. So let's click on low. You see one and it's from a male. If I click on medium here, it's not going to show anything because there is no transaction from Australia that was done on weekend that is a medium level. So that is how it is. So let us clear the slicers. Clear it like this. So don't forget, clear everything so that your analysis will be correct. So we have cleared everything. Good. Let us look at another aspect. Let's look at city. Let us say, okay, let's click Australia again. Okay, we have all of these transactions from Australia, and then if you look at the city, you can see that only the cities that are from Australia are highlighted. Every other cities that are not from Australia are not highlighted. So I want to choose that, okay, which of them, how many transactions came from this particular city? Angus Plains. If I click on it, only one transaction came from Angus Plains. And that transaction is a female. And if I come here to check, you can see that that transaction was low level transaction. It happened on a working day and it happened in October. So you can see how we have been able to do in-depth analysis using this particular method. Now, let us look at another aspect. And that aspect is that let us look at we look at countries. So let us look at country. So we put country name. So let's remove the customer ID. Yes. So the country. Then let's look at the other amounts from those countries. Other amounts. So these are the amounts that were generated from each of these countries. Then let's look at transaction. So look at transaction. We can use the same other amount. We put it here, but you come here instead of sum, we change it to count. Count. So This will give us 50 because there are 50 records in our data set. Now, when we look at this, let us go deeper into this. From here, we can see that there are 7 transactions from Australia, which you can remember from the previous analysis, and all of them amount to this. There are 4 from Denmark amounting to this particular figure. Now, let's go to Denmark. Let's click on Denmark. You see 4 transactions from Denmark and this amount. And if you come down here, you can see that these are the states. So if I click on this state, you can see that, okay, only 2 transactions came from this state in Denmark and they were of this particular amount. So let us check how many of this happened in the weekend. Only one of them happened on weekend, and one of them, as you could know, happened on the working day. And if you move here, you can see that all of this is a low value transaction. So let us remove the slicers, remove it, remove it. Now let's look at it based on months. Let's say, okay, we want to see only the transactions from the month of April. So we click on April, you can see for the month of April, transactions only came from Denmark and USA. So it was only from USA and Denmark that transaction happened on April. And all of those transactions happen on a working day and all of them are low level. So let's check for May. You can see 8 happened in May and they were from these 3 countries. And how many happened in the weekend? 6 happened in the weekend. How many happened in the working day? Only 2 happened in the working day, which shows that from in this particular month of May, in in this particular month of May, majority of the transaction that happened was from this country and they happened on the weekend. So that is an insight. We could go further and ask our stakeholders and co about why that happened. So we can do multiple selection. So let us say, okay, I want to check for 3 months. So let's say, so let me clear. So if I click on this place, I will uncheck everything. So I want to click on October and November. So click here, and also September. So September, October, November, these 3 months, let us look at the transactions that we had. So for those 3 months of September, October, and November, there were only 4 transactions, and they were from these 3 countries. And can you imagine? All of them happened on the weekend. So you can see that a lot of transactions were actually happening on the weekend compared to the working day. So because of this, let us actually compare the weekend and the working day directly from this table. So let us clear this slicer. Good. And then let's uncheck this. And then we come here. Instead of having the country name here, we will remove the country name like this. And then we are going to put the date type there. So date type. So by putting the date type, so let's clear this slicer too. Very good. Now, after clear this slicer, we have our full. So we have weekend, we have working day. So if you look at it, out of the 50 transactions, only 14 of them was from weekend, while 36 were from the working day. So, but based on the previous analysis we have been doing, majority of them were showing weekend. So it means that those particular area that we were checking were majorly from those area or those period when there were more weekend transaction. So let us look deeper now. Let's look at high transaction. So high level transaction, how did they happen? Majority of them happened on the working day. Let's look at low. Majority still happened on the working day. Let's look at medium. More medium, more of medium transaction happened on the weekend. So good, good. So this is how we can walk around and drill our data into different layer of granularity and see and extract insight from our data set. So I believe you should go and try this on your own and see how much you can do. Thank you very, very much until we meet in the next